Okay, we're back. 2 o'clock. We're back with Elizabeth Strauss. And I'm interested in knowing what she has, whatever reaction she has after Andrew Warren, the opponent in her race. She has a primary this August, and it's between her and Andrew. So welcome back. You know that I told you that I would give you the floor.
Thank
for
you.
the rest, for however many Saturdays you wanted until the election. Why? Because and Andrew, thank God that he said that he wasn't giving you any pushback. But some people I know, because it's been told to me, have been not very nice to you as a fellow Democratic member of your local Hillsborough County Democratic Party.
Which is true. People are very passionate with their political beliefs, and people that like Andrew love Andrew, and they don't want to see anybody getting in his way. And so I'm happy that he came on. I think this was an honest um, recitation of where we are, in the sense that he conceded that we are not done. We are not we haven't won anything yet. He's optimistic. I love to hear that word, because it shows that he knows that the fight is far from over. And I was especially happy to hear that he wasn't referring to me or my letter in that Politico article when he was asked, you were commented and quoted as saying, "I'm not concerned with negative, dishonest attacks." And he's like, "I wasn't talking about her." I don't know what he was talking about, but that was my concern. So I'm glad we cleared that up. And I think it's clear to the voters that his case is not over. And as much as everybody may like him, and much as we may have loved the way he ran the office, the fact of the matter is, him and DeSantis are still in a pending legal battle. And we didn't talk too much about the other fact, which is that before he filed this most recent motion to expedite and move the case along, they asked both parties to brief on jurisdiction, what I said last week. So we haven't gotten an answer on that, and that was like a month or two ago. And so not only are we not rushing along, we're still not even sure at all if Hinkle's going to get this case yet. So forget about hurry. It's like, do we even have jurisdiction? So I feel terrible for Andrew. I don't want anybody to think that I dislike this man or think he's a bad person, or I'm a Ron DeSantis fan and I'm in agreement with what happened, because I'm not. I'm just a practical person, and there's a lot of Republicans at play here, not just in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, but in the Senate and in the Florida Supreme Court. And we know from Monique Worrell's situation in Orlando that the Florida Supreme Court said that what the governor did to her was perfectly legal. And I think that's why Andrew Warren never sought any relief from the Florida Senate, is because he knows that the Florida courts are stacked against him. And we still don't know if the federal courts are against him or not, because we still don't know if they have jurisdiction, and we still don't know if they're going to drag their feet for the rest of his term. And if that's the case, DeSantis could do it again for his own political stunt, just like he did the first time. Or just to save face, to say, look, I'm not done with my current legal battle, so why am I not going to remove him again? If I don't remove him again, it might be viewed as an admission that he's somehow now competent, in my opinion, which I think DeSantis is going to maintain, in his view, that Andrew Warren is not competent to hold that position. Whether he's right or wrong, that's his position. I don't agree, and I think most people don't agree with that. But if he's got enough of the courts and enough Republicans to agree with him, it's not really going to matter what the Democrats or the people think, even if we are the majority in Hillsborough County. And even if we make a stance and elect him, like the person that wrote in and said, would Elizabeth be removed if you got reinstated after November? And it's like, well, I wouldn't take office till January and his term would be up. So I don't see how under any scenario I would be removed so that he could come in. And this day for day thing, I think, is a long shot to think.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because I'm still trying to figure out how that would work. If he won, or if you won in November, and then he wins his case and he's reinstated, and you don't take office till January, how does he take office in January?
When he gets reinstated, I don't see any scenario where he would get to extend his term. This was the first time I've heard him say.
But it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to have to research it, because this day for day, So he's saying that there's a chance that even if he's reinstated, let's say in December, that he wouldn't be kicked out December 31st, that somehow he would get credit for lost time and be able to serve like a year or two into somebody else's term before then. I guess he's saying that then whoever won the November, if it was Susie, it would be Susie. If it was me, we would come in after he got his credit. I understood it all along that he was seeking relief to get reinstated to finish his term, which goes to
right. That's correct.
So if he gets reinstated December 10th, he gets from the 10th to the 31st. If he gets reinstated tomorrow, he gets from tomorrow to the 30th. I didn't know there was a scenario where he could push out the new elected person and continue on into January, or I've never heard that before.
It's an interesting question, but if he lost the primary, because that would put you, the scenario based on the question.
Uh-huh. If he loses the primary, then he can still get
over.
No, it's over for him for January and beyond, but he doesn't have to win anything. He doesn't even have to run. That's what he said when he said he wasn't running. He said he was focused on getting reinstated because you don't have to run just to finish out your term. So whether he loses the primary or the general wouldn't change the fact that if he wins his case, he can still get reinstated no matter what till the end of December. It doesn't matter about winning the primary or not. I think practically speaking, though, that the courts may be looking to see, is it worth switching the power for a month or two? They may just say, let's just drag this out and see if he wins. And then if he wins, we'll reinstate him because there's a chance that he can just continue on for another 4 years and we don't have to have it.
Right. Maybe they're waiting for the injunctive relief to see if he wins in November. Then they may grant him injunctive relief if they haven't decided the issues that are up. Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't even know they had jurisdiction over that injunctive relief part. There's all this state stuff that, whether it's 2 or 4, it was clear in Hinkle's first opinion that he didn't find that the First Amendment violations were essential to the outcome and that he would have been suspended anyways. He's thinking now he's going to reconsider because Hinkle got couple of the state ones that were really federal, but we are still in such an uncertain scenario that I think when he said he wasn't going to run because of the cloud of uncertainty, I don't see how this cloud has gone from uncertain to certain.
So let just to be fair to him, because I've thought about that, and I think I mentioned it to you, that he there may have been a thought process of if he doesn't run, then it becomes moot.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why he ran.
So that's a good reason to reconsider.
I think it was he should have stayed in it from the beginning because it would have kept people like me from thinking, Susie might run unopposed from entering, because I wouldn't have never entered had all along he been, I'm going. I only entered because it appeared to me and to everybody that nobody was going to run. And when he changed his mind, it was just so late in the game. It was in April already. And
to be fair to you, you said, because I showed the affidavit while he was on, and you gave him an affidavit saying that if he was reinstated before the deadline to file to run, that you would drop out.
Right. Because
you just changed your mind because you have a point.
Right. When we spoke, it wasn't, I might just change my mind even if nothing happens. It was, I'm not going to run unless I get the green light. It didn't necessarily mean a reinstatement at the time we spoke, but it was understood between us both that you weren't going to run unless something happened. Nothing happened. So he just changed his mind, which is why I said I'd back out. But when we said that, it was because you were going to get the reinstatement or at least a ruling saying you're going to be reinstated, which never happened. So that's where I think a lot of people are. I don't know why so many people are concerned about having an option on a primary, because I've heard somehow splitting the vote. That would make sense if Susie was on the ballot and me and Andrew were on the ballot, because then Democrats argue you're stealing people that might vote for just Andrew versus just Susie. But when you're in a closed primary, I'm not stealing anybody's votes. It's right. You guys have an option, and I don't know why options are bad. I mean, if people want him, they'll vote for him, and if they don't, they'll vote for me, and then whoever goes on gets a one-on-one versus Susie. So no splitting of the votes. I don't understand why people are so.
And your own party, your own party. Remember that. That's why I don't trust the Republicans and I don't trust the Democrats. I don't the party, the establishment. They get political. They eat their own. They go against their own. So I vote for the person. I do, and that's why I renounced affiliation with any party. I'm an independent, and there's a growing trend. There's people are becoming independent. I'm glad.
The only thing about being an independent is then you can't vote in the primaries.
Exactly, and that's the only reason why I'm registered.
So
you can't vote. It's kind of like, well, what's the point?
I want Stephanie to talk about what we're witnessing, the local, and this is not the Democratic Party, the state. It's the local, the Hillsborough Democratic Party has a good amount of nasty members.
Oh, I got some pretty negative feedback when I sent out the videos last week, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Wow, this is pretty aggressive." But
and using adjectives
right
that don't apply. When you start demonizing people, because you just are beholden to Andrew, and that's good. Listen, I made it clear right from the beginning.
I mean, everybody has a choice to who they vote for. I mean, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. The last person I talked to that doesn't vote, and I handed her a voter registration form and a stamped envelope to mail it in, and she said, "Well, I'm not going to vote for who you want me to vote for." And I was like, "That's okay. I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to vote."
Exactly. If I told everybody to vote for me, that'd be a dictatorship. I would be like, don't exercise your discretion and just vote. That's like a communist country does that, not somebody that wants to have people's voices heard. And that's all I'm advocating for.
We don't have enough primaries. Dave Coleman says, listen, Elizabeth, when she was disseminating the letter that she wrote to Andrew, I received the letter. I read it. I didn't read it immediately because I was bogged down with a lot of work, but I did eventually read it, and there is nothing in there that makes her dishonest or cuckoo.
No. All I want
is legitimate issues that she's raising in that letter.
I think what Andrew did today was simply what I've been wanting him to do all along, and I think the reason he felt comfortable doing it today, and this is just my pure speculation and opinion, was he knows that you're a lawyer and he can get into the legal nitty gritty of it, and he's not going to have to dumb it down as much as maybe he would at the Corner Club in a 2-minute speech. But what I've been reading on Twitter and what I hear him say a lot of times is more along the lines of, it's final, I've won. And that's why when Elvis came on last week, I think Elvis was completely either misinformed, misguided, or mistaken, because he said Andrew won his case in the Supreme Court, which we know he's not in any Supreme Court, not the U.S. or the Florida. But I think he, in his mind, thought that his reinstatement was pending, which it's not, and that we were a lot more in the win category than we are in the optimistic I'm going to win category, which is what I think he conceded to today was, no, I haven't won. No, we're not at the trial court. We're still in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. We're still addressing jurisdiction. We're still trying to find out if they're going to grant or deny this en banc review. And we have no idea when, if ever, they're going to send this case back to Hinkle. And that's all I've been advocating for is the truth. And that's the truth. And I think it came out today. I also am happy to hear that he wasn't calling me dishonest in my letter, because I tried to quote things directly from court opinions and quote things directly from his mouth. And so I'm happy that I have nothing negative to say about him now, because it's like he cleared the record up, and I wasn't expecting him to say the things that he said, because it's a little bit at odds with what I had been hearing prior to today. And so I'm glad that, he's optimistic. I'm not. I'm realistic. I don't think he's going to get reinstated. I wish he were. I wish he was reinstated before April 26th, because I would like nothing more than to just be not in politics and let him have his job back and know that Susie Lopez was not running unopposed. That was my wish all along.
So let me ask you, if he's reinstated before the August election, would you drop out?
No, absolutely not. I told him at the Corner Club, at this point, I don't necessarily have the millionaire donors that he does, but I have a lot of people who I have a lot of respect for that really want me to win, and they want to see me in office, and they think I would do a better job than him. And I'm not saying everybody has to have that opinion, but there are a lot of people who believe in me now, and I feel a sense of obligation at this point, having put in this much time and energy into it. And these are people that I don't want to let down and give up when I don't see any downside to giving people the option, and I can, make everybody happy. So that's
Look,
why.
you worked, and we're deviating a little bit, but since you're on, and I'm gonna bring you on regularly as a talking head, you worked at the public defender's office, public
Ugh.
defend in Hillsborough County, and so I forgot which page a call or made a comment about why Julian Holt has been in office 30 years. So I recall something about, because I was preparing for Andrew Warren's broadcast, and I did see the Tampa Bay Tiger Club where you all had that forum. Um, what there was a question that was posed as to Andrew Warren's race, this state attorney's race, and Rocky said he seemed like he didn't want to give an answer because he wanted to just stay neutral to receive votes from Republicans, Independents, everybody. What was it? The question that was asked?
I don't know if it was a question. I think he was giving maybe his closing remarks, or he was just ad-libbing something after an answer to say, I promise to keep politics out of the courtroom and out of the office.
Is that true with that office?
No, I mean, absolutely not. He's a politician through and through. Julie's a politician through and through. He was my boss when I worked there. I didn't particularly get along with him. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, difficult.
Does he have a demeanor issue?
He has a leadership issue, I think. He does have a very kind of stoic demeanor, and he's not very warm or cuddly, but that's not what's wrong. What's wrong is it's just a constant like micromanaging thing. I mean, I remember doing first appearance court for way too long, like over 6 months, going to the jail, leaving at 5:30 in the morning, getting to the jail early. And I remember I could count on one hand, maybe on one or two occasions where I was running late to work. And when I say running late, I mean like you're supposed to be there at 8, and it would be like 8:01 and my phone would ring. Where are you? I'm like, I am walking from the parking lot. Like, I have gone to work early every day except for this Friday, and it's 8:01, and I can't even get my toe in the door. Or if it's a lunch hour, or you're coming from the jail and you get a flat tire and you don't call him. I mean, it was just like,
it is micromanaged like that. It's so oppressive that I left.
Overrate. People just don't last there very long, and the people that do, I just don't know how they do it. I know a couple of people that are still there, and I'm just like, how have you made it this long? Because it is one of the most difficult places to work for, and he is just a difficult person to work for. I don't know how else to say it.
It was just funny to me.
But I would never work for him. And
it's funny to me that you're addressing. They said that it was a record-breaking crowd in the Tampa Bay Tiger Club, that forum, and he's standing up and he is saying something, and Holt is there, present in the audience, and he is saying something that is not true to those who are listening. That they are non-political and they only focus on the politics. That is not true.
People that know. I'll say that they know.
Holt endorsed Mark Ober, who said wonderful things about him in 2016. Once he lost, she's at a Democratic event and she's praising Andrew and throwing Mark Ober under the bus. She criticized Rick Scott. She had something to say when Aramis Ayala's the death penalty cases in Orlando were removed from her for taking a stance that she wasn't going to pursue the death penalty. And she endorses candidates like Joe Citro, who's a Tampa City councilman, right? When he ran for re-election. I don't understand how that's connected to the lady's mission, but she is political, very political.
Very political. And I don't know why she's supposed to be retiring. She should be like Switzerland.
Enjoy her family.
Yeah,
have peace. Go have peace. Retire. Peace. I don't know, right? Because politics is not peaceful. If you want peace, go seek peace and right off into the sunset.
Wants to have her, she wants Rocky because I think she wants to stay involved. I don't think she really wants to retire. I think she wants to kind of retire, but also be very involved. And she's not going to get that with Lisa McClain. And I think it's time for new leadership in that office. And I'm rooting for Lisa.
It's hard to let go when
You've been doing it so long.
When you like power and control, it's hard to let go.
Politics. I mean, she's just into the politics, so
Yep,
I get it. And that
Okay,
she's not involved.
so Stephanie,
Yes,
you have the floor.
I do. Oh my goodness, we're in trouble now.
Thoughts?
All by myself
Okay,
All
go.
on
What are your thoughts?
about what y'all are talking about? Oh well, we can. Well, what do I think? I think that we've cleared some stuff up. I think that the Politico article was poorly written because he jumped from one subject to a different subject, and if he wasn't talking about you, they should issue a reprint for certain. Um, I have no idea what he was talking about, but I think that that's something that people need to take into consideration when if you're writing an article. And I mean, I see it in the Tampa Bay Times quite often that they change the articles because there's a problem, and it should be requested to be redacted, reprinted, whatever.
Correct it.
Fix it. Correct it.
Yeah, because it's almost slander. I mean, it's calling me dishonest, and he's saying I'm not talking about her. But it said in response to the letter, Andrew Warren quote says, "I'm not concerned with negative, dishonest attacks." And if he's not saying that, if that's not what he said, then that shouldn't be quoted because.
So then you should write them and say that and put the link on and say, "Could you?" Yep.
He says that's not what he was not talking about me, and that's exactly what you put in your article.
Well, he did a good job during the broadcast, and we do like Andrew Warren. We like
him too. I like him
too. So hopefully,
But we're different people. I mean, just because I like him and just because other people like him doesn't mean that we would run the office the same way. I mean, I don't know his position on.
How would you run it differently?
Well, like those 3 things that I would do right away. The open file discovery, I don't know what his position is on that. I don't know his position on the trial tax. And I don't know his position on cameras in the courtroom. And those are 3 things that I want to do.
Okay, so then you don't know that he would implement those things that you are going to do. Right?
He might now, but he didn't in the past, so he'd have to adopt those. And maybe he's more than willing to. I know he's open-minded, and maybe if I lose, I can say, hey, I got some 3 good ideas you can implement day 1 if you win, and he might do them. I have no idea. I haven't asked him. But I know he's not a vindictive person, and like he is happy to come on your show even though you didn't necessarily support him the first go around. I'm sure even though he might be less than thrilled that I'm running against him in a primary, I don't have any doubt that he would take my phone calls and be civil with me and listen to my ideas. I don't find him to be that kind of a person, so I think he would.
No. And not only did he take a lot of time to come on, he came on maybe a year after he won, a year or so, because he came to talk about the wrongful conviction, which that's huge that he implemented that.
I think that could probably be more. I mean, I'm happy to hear what he did for Robert DuBose, but I'm sure there are many, many more people. And that office, I think, was staffed by 1 person. So that's not a very big unit, in my opinion. So, if I win, I would definitely make it more than a 1-person unit. And I would definitely try to exonerate more than 1 person because I think there's more than just him. But I applaud him. I mean, 1 is still 1. 37 years or however many years it was is still a long time to be sitting in prison for something you didn't do on death row.
For real. Okay, so listen, you have the floor, Elizabeth. So whatever you want to tell, I know you're still campaigning. You have that primary. What do you want to tell the voters?
Yeah, I want to tell the voters quickly. It's July 13th, July 22nd, 9 more days because we are a closed primary. And I have a lot of friends who are Republicans and independents. They have time to vote in this primary if they want to. And they have 9 days. It's so easy to do. I've had to have family members do it. You go online, you can have an ID card or a Florida driver's license. It asks you for your address and a couple other questions. It takes less than 2 minutes. You can change it, and you can also request a mail-in ballot, which is I guess the way to win, because I think every single election I've looked at, whoever had more mail-in votes ends up winning. So, don't. And I think if you want to go in person, you can still tell them that you mailed in your vote, and there's a way for them to check. And if it hasn't been recorded yet, they'll still let you vote in person, and there's a way they can cancel the mail-in ballot. So it's my advice. Don't follow it if you don't want to, but my advice is go ahead and request the mail-in ballot. If you change your mind, go to the polls and tell them you changed your mind. They'll look up and see if you can vote in person or not. And that way you know for sure that your vote will be counted. Because sometimes it's raining or you get sick and you don't feel like you're going to make it to the polls, or something happens and then you're stuck if you didn't send in your mail-in vote. But if you send in your mail-in vote, but you feel like, oh, I want to make sure it got counted, there's a way you can track it online. But you can also just show up at the poll on election day, which is August 20th, and say, look, I sent in a mail-in vote. Can you see if it was already counted or not? And if not, I want to vote in person. And
Or you can drop it off there and not stand in
Yes.
line.
That's what we always do. We take our we do our mail-in ballots at home, and then we take them during early voting, because then you don't have to wait in line. And they have a box right in there to drop off your ballot.
Okay.
And I'm a big endorser of that. The last elections, I had 2 different people who called me and told me how desperately sick they were and how they weren't going to be able to get out. And I was like, put on 2 masks and get your butt down there, because that's all you can do. So they were like wishing they were dead, and they did not have a mail-in ballot, and they ended up going downtown, or going to vote, exposing everybody else to the cooties that they had. But I did a lot of stumping for the last elections, because they were city council elections, and so I talked to a lot more people than most people do about who they were going to vote and how they were going to vote. We've already ordered our mail-in ballots at our house, and it took less than a minute. My son is going to be his first election, so he's I bullied him into coming in there and getting his. He said, "Well, I want to do it in person." I said, "Well, you can absolutely do it in person, but we're going to make sure you've got your mail-in ballot in your hand, so that you can look at it and know who you're going to vote for before you get there."
Smart.
And the funniest part was, I actually put a post up on Facebook this week. I had no idea who's running against Rick Scott. That just tickled me, because I thought, I know everybody else on the ballot. I at least know something about everybody else on the ballot. Where most people, it's the polar opposite. They know about who's running for Senate, but I hadn't heard anything about the Democratic nominee for the Senate. So
yeah, and that's the other thing. You can get a sample ballot now. You can go and look and see, because a lot of people are like, who's even in the primary? A lot of people don't know. And then a lot of people also don't know that in the public defender's race, this shows how little I know about politics. I did not know in a closed primary that if there's no Republican running, that independents and Republicans can vote in that closed primary for a Democrat.
wow.
So if you're an independent or Republican, you want to go out and vote for Rocky or Lisa, don't think because you're not a Democrat and this is a closed primary that you can't vote, because there's nobody on the Republican side that's running against them. So it's open to everybody.
And that's why it makes sense that Rocky Brancato got up,
right, of course,
and said something like, if I was there, I wouldn't have been able to say anything, but I would just be like, wow, you're lying to my face.
Yeah.
And they probably he wanted to say that so that he doesn't offend Republicans by supporting or speaking on anything related to Andrew's race. That's what I got from having watched.
And he always touts his endorsement from Julie Holt also as like a digging point against Lisa, like Julie's supporting me. So he's political. I mean, he's running for a position. It's politics. He's playing politics. I'm not mad at him. I just don't want him to say he's not playing politics when he is. It's clear. And that's fine. That's what people are doing. Go ahead and do it, but don't say as you're doing it that you're not doing it. That's silly.
Right. And at best.
Yeah. So that's something, fun fact. So for people that are independents and Republicans, you can still vote in the August 20th primary for public defender, at least. And I'm having a fundraiser on Saturday at Hank's Barbecue from 1 to 3. So people come out and meet me. We're going to have some barbecue, and it should be a good time so that people can get to know their candidates. A lot of people don't know who's running. And they actually, we know Andrew Warren and he made national headlines, but I still go around town and ask random people, have you heard of Andrew Warren? And every single person that's not a lawyer or a politician has said no.
I believe it.
Not a single person that's even heard of him. So I'm like, every time I'm with my family members, we cheer because we're like, sometimes we get jaded because the leaders, make us.
Yeah, but you know what? It's because there's apathy too amongst voters. They don't want to read. They don't want to
Yeah, of course.
get up to speed with
Yes, I
who's
agree.
representing them, who's in office.
I think a lot of that is our local media doesn't spend any time on local races. They really don't.
No,
And
they
I
don't.
mean, if you watch TV, it's all about blah 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 blah, and they don't talk. They don't talk
more about the Alec Baldwin trial and Karen Reed and these other cases than they do about our own races and our own politicians and local stuff. But
Exactly.
yeah, now especially with Joe Biden and Trump and what's happening with the presidential race, it's completely overshadowing the local state attorney race for sure. But I think people are starting to realize that just because a few powerful people pick somebody, that doesn't necessarily mean that they speak for every single Democrat. And just like there's Democrats that are upset that Joe Biden is running, people can still like Joe Biden and just say, it's probably not best timing wise because of your age that you do this. And just like people might like Andrew Warren and love him and think he was wrongfully removed, they may say, you said you weren't going to run, and let's not be mad at this other person for stepping up, and let's give her an opportunity, and you sit this one out and run for something else in 2 years. That's an option. And, I think he is better suited for a legislative position. His passion seems more in democracy, your rights to vote, abortion access, things that, like a governor or legislative position, not one that's tasked with whatever the law is, good or bad, you can enforce it. And I'm much more of a balls and strikes kind of person. I see very clearly, you either have the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt or you don't. Let's be fair across the board. Let's not impose trial taxes on people just because they exercise their right to a jury trial, things like that. So I still think I'm the better candidate and also have state case experience. He went through his resume of being, justice lawyer. That's what my husband does. And it's attorney.
Dave Coleman, unless the public is directly involved with current and Hillsborough issues, they don't often know. That's the sadness. And that's generally people don't care unless it affects them. That's why you're supposed to be involved. It's not just about us. It's about other people.
Well, and that actually is one of the reasons why I think I'd be so great for this position is I think there's a lot of people that have been prosecutor and defender. And I think there was a judge that was on your show last week that was talking about how he was both. And I thought,
Cornelius Stamps, the candidate.
He, that is so valuable because until you've sat at the jail and sat with victims, you really have a hard time putting yourself in other people's shoes. I mean, I could have never imagined how I would feel sitting with next of kin of murder victims when my whole life I was always with the defendant's family and thinking about how will this, guilty verdict negatively impact them as opposed to how does this guilty verdict positively impact this family. And when you do both, it gives you a perspective where you're not interested in winning. You're really interested in what is the fairest outcome right now for everybody involved, because there are two sides to every story. No matter how thin you slice a piece of pie, there are two sides in every case, whether you like it or not. There are two people. And sometimes just having that compassion and empathy, even if it's for a defendant that may have mental health issues or, there's something mitigating that, you have to think about that. Not saying they get passes, but you have to consider defenses when you're a prosecutor. And a lot of prosecutors don't have that experience, and neither of my opponents do in this race, which I think is my unfair advantage.
So, listen, when I think about those who died during the battle for our independence and those who have since died going to the war to fight for our principles and ideals, the least that I can do is vote. The least that I can do is civically be up to speed with issues and to become involved like that. That's a small contribution.
Yeah, and I hope more people go out and vote because I don't think there's ever been a primary ever in Hillsborough County for this state attorney's race ever before this August is a groundbreaking. So I'll actually be, I guess, the first. There's never been a female elected. I know there's one that's been appointed now, But if I win the primary, at least it'll be the first time a female has been on the ballot for state attorney and won. So that's something. Even if I lose to Susie, one of us will. It'll guarantee a female will be elected if they vote for me. So you can make it a guaranteed female voted in, not appointed, if you vote for me, because there'll only be two options after that, and it'll be Susie versus Elizabeth. I think that's the way to go.
Dave Coleman keeps contributing, and thank you to our broadcast this afternoon. And Dave Coleman, I've never met him in person. I know him
Dave's awesome.
through online. He is, I know, and you say that, and he's so involved. And salutes to you for that, because we should all be like that. But so I'm not ignoring the Josiah Piner case. I'm not up to speed with it, and I really don't want to. Is anybody here?
He mentioned it at the corner club, and I remember Andrew saying something along the lines of like there wasn't enough evidence there. I didn't know enough about it, but he was starting to tell me about the excessive speed that the officer was going down a particular road and ends up hitting somebody. And although he came back to the scene, I think, the issue was, does it really negate the speed factor and the maybe reckless driving or negligent manslaughter, some sort of a charge. And I don't know if no charges were brought or if just too little of charges. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and I don't really know about it. That's why I'm not going to comment on that, because I don't know. If you want to comment on that, or maybe we could table it in the future, talk about it.
That's when Warren says, can you come over here and talk to me? And that's when he's like, put that in writing. And I'm like, it's recorded. What do we need in writing? And he was like, the affidavit, I think it'll help move the 11th Circuit along. I'm like, this isn't going to move anything along, but I did it anyways.
He had a 5-day suspension.
Oh.
So somebody just get your life, real crime stories. I don't know who's behind that page, but I'm late. Am I late getting in? No, you're not. And how long have you been an attorney?
10 years. Since 2014.
Okay. So anything else you want to leave the viewers with, those who will see this broadcast, Elizabeth, before we wrap up? I have a 3:00.
July 22nd. Let's get everybody out to vote in this primary, because I think a lot of people aren't paying attention because of what's going on with the presidential race. And it's important to know that you have to be a registered Democrat if you want to vote for me or for Andrew Warren. But get yourself registered as a Democrat before the 22nd. Request a mail-in vote. You can drop it off in person, or you can go in person if you had already checked it or not. And, I mean, this is your time to be heard. And if everybody wants a democracy, this is how it happens. So
okay, so I think we have a call, and I can see who it is. It's Mona Judge, and she's on. You're on, Mona. If you want to say something. Thank you for calling in, and you're welcome to say whatever you want. Mona?
Mona, are you there? Mona. You call.
if we keep yelling Mona, does that mean she might hear us?
She should be on now. Maybe she called me and didn't actually mean to call.
She butt dialed you, and now we're going to put her on the spot.
No, she's not picking up.
Mona can, she can roll.
Oh, yeah, she can. Okay.
Well,
So,
maybe not.
she's probably like, no. Okay, so if you meant to call you later, girl.
My son's calling people all the time randomly. I'm like, who did you call? And I'm like,
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Hey, I was the one in the chat.
Okay.
Yes, I was just calling in. My name is Tasha.
Oh, I see the comment.
You see?
Yes.
I probably should have called in when Lisa was on, but I wanted to ask her what are her thoughts about the current public defender and about Rocky. I don't know if I missed that or not, or if she even mentioned that.
She did a little bit. What is
I'm supporting Lisa. I wasn't going to because everybody was supposedly staying neutral. And then when Julie Holt, despite, I'm not even going to get into it because my little sister tells me that I'm being too mean and I need to be nicer. But I am taking the position. Fine, I'll be nice. So I'm not going to say anything about Julie or Rocky, but I'm supporting Lisa. And I worked for Rocky, and I think it's time for change. So I'll leave it at that. But there's a lot more to this story, and I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I'm disappointed in that office, how it's run, how it's micromanaged. I don't think that the attorneys there have good
I
quality.
agree.
I think the morale is really, really low. And I think the work they do is incredibly difficult. I remember having 150 felony clients and always, always being criticized, despite being at the jail at 5:30 in the morning, despite putting in the hours, working on holidays. I mean, it was never thank you. It was always, why this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you file this? Always a numbers game and stats. And, we have to do this to get, just stupid stuff, really micromanaged, stupid stuff. So I hope Lisa wins. She will win. And I encourage everybody to go out and let their voices be heard. And that includes independents and Republicans. But that office is in a major crisis, and they need a leadership change.
And here's I will say something, Tasha. I've never met you, and I'm just now getting acquainted with Get Your Life, Real Crime Stories. I'll say this. We had Lisa on a couple of weeks ago. Discussion was had during the broadcast. Elvis said that, and Lisa did two other people, that he had said at the Tiger Bay or during campaigning up until that time that no changes needed to be made. He said that could be seen online. He said for somebody that's coming, that wants to be elected, to say there's no other changes that need to be made, that's a problem. Now he starts getting that as a criticism during his campaign. Mention is made of that during Lisa McLean's broadcast a couple of weeks ago here on Florida You Judge. And then I go check his campaign social media page, and he puts a clip of a subsequent forum where he says that he's proposing change when he's asked. Okay, maybe they were asking them to double down to see what he was going to say with the same answer, that he's not going to, there's no changes that need to be made. And then he said that his change would be to make the juvenile division something where attorneys would have to commit to be juvenile attorneys for life. Now, I don't see how that's even possible. Wow. That's not a novel, creative, visionary change. Okay. But even if you could, I would never commit to do something for the rest of my career, because something can happen. I can be in bad work conditions, which appears Rocky has gotten that criticism that I said, how would you even make that happen? And, it's with your demeanor. And even if he was the nicest guy, no one's going to commit to be in that office, in that division, in a specific division for the rest of their life career. It could be, but how do you enforce it if they renege on a commitment to doing that? So I wrote that. I said, now you're switching gears. Sue Carlton from the Tampa Bay Times, in an article, which I have, and I showed to him in the comment section on his campaign social media page, you're now flipping. You said no changes need to be done. Yeah. He later realized that's a bad answer. People were asking about, wait, what? You're perfect? No, the system that you're going to inherit if you win is perfect and no change? No. So now he's kind of saying, oh, wait, I will make a change. That's not a real meaningful change. And so when I question that on his social media campaign page, what does he do? He deletes the comment and blocks me. He blocks the Florida. So you know what I find comical about Julian Holt and Rocky Brancato? First of all, you know what? They don't have what it takes to say, you know what? I'll come on Florida You Judge to have these discussions. You know what? It's not all unicorns and lollipops and puppies. We have to, if you're going to be entrusted to lead an office that serves underrepresented people and the poor, you're going to get vetted, and it might have hard questions. Listen, I don't think they would come on. I don't think that have what it takes. the right stuff to come on, not just on friendly forums, but on hard ones. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It
The
would
other
be
thing
for the
that
better.
he said that
No, but wait, but let me finish, and I'll leave it with this, and then you go. You know what's ironic and hypocritical? That Rocky Brancato, and I have the screenshots. I do. So that Rocky Brancato, the Democratic primary candidate against Lisa McLean, another Democratic candidate, his mentor is endorsing Andrew Warren. There's rumors that Julian Holt wants to be the chair of the Hillsborough County Democratic Party. Well, guess what? Whoever she says, Rocky basically attributes to her what he has become under her tutelage and training. So if he doesn't understand First Amendment, when right now one of the fellow party members that they are supporting, she's endorsed them. If he doesn't understand the offensiveness that to delete a comment, a legit, I'm not offending him, I'm not insulting him, I'm not using profanity, I am saying something legit. For you to delete my comment from your campaign social media page and block me, that's the things that dictators, totalitarian regimes are made of, Mr. Brancato. So no, I would urge everyone to put your support behind Lisa for that very reason. And or Rocky Brancato can, you know what, unblock me and let me speak. Because if not, you don't understand the importance of citizens to engage in conversation, in discussions, during the process of selecting who should lead offices. You don't get that. You have a demeanor problem, and that's all I'm gonna say. Tasha, thanks for calling in.
And
you revved
yes,
me
ma'am.
up.
I wanted to say, listen, I appreciate all of what you said. I don't know who was speaking before you and said that they didn't want to talk about it now on this platform, but I would love to know when and if they will be open to talking about that, because that office being ran for so long by one person, like you said, there's change that needs to be had. I don't even know if I can really say, how I know that this is possible, and I hate to say the word corrupt, but just for lack of better words, there needs to be change. There are things that are going on that people don't know about, and we talk a lot about the attorneys, but we also have to talk about what I call it peons, the office staff,
Well, listen,
and how they're being treated as well.
I wouldn't call
because
it.
it's not right.
I wouldn't use the word corrupt. Okay, let's just start there.
Okay,
yeah. If anything, I'm not
an attorney or anything, so I don't know.
No, I understand. I'm not chastising you. I just don't want. I want to be fair in the commentary. So
okay.
Let's see. So Mona,
help me out.
He's now being a flip flopper, an indicator of not a strong leader. And then she goes on to say, really don't like politicians like that. Don't have the backbone to take criticism. Was not personal. And then then what does she say here? Sound like a Republican. So here's the other thing, and I love Mona, and she knows that I do. To me, I don't care about blue, red, Republican, Democrat. Give me a good candidate. I don't care what color they're cloaked in. I'm gonna vote for them. That's it. That's what's wrong with our country. So I'm happy, Tasha, maybe I'll reach out to. I extended an invite to Rocky Brancato while I was interviewing.
I really wish he would come on.
And he's not. He's not.
That's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, well, but I'm not gonna lose sleep about it. I have free time to
of course.
not get tied up in having to bring. I'm doing this because it's important, and to have an additional outlet platform among the many that exist, to have them expand their message to as many voters and people as possible. If he doesn't want to avail himself of, it's because he probably doesn't want to have to hear what I just said to him, and him not have a retort to what I said. So thank you for calling. You need to say something else before we hang up?
Real quick, I wanted to tell her about Rocky. One comment he keeps repeating at every debate I've had with him and Lisa, the same things, is that it would take any other person 4 years just to scratch the surface of how to run that office. That's totally not true. There's nothing complex about being able to run that office. And Lisa McLean is a very smart, capable individual. And it would take her but 4 minutes to figure out how to run that office. So 4 years is a ridiculous notion to say that somebody with a law degree who's been practicing law as long as she has,
longer than him.
Right. So I take issue with that, and I would caution people to believe that Lisa's not qualified to run that office. I think she'd be great. And if you want to know the truth about that office, ask people that have worked there, because the people that currently work there are terrified to speak about that office, so they'll never tell you the truth. They will in private.
But can you? Because I'll just say this: I have worked there.
Okay.
I recently left.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Well, do tell.
Things
Please
haven't
give us the tea.
Listen, I don't know what all, because I don't want to be retaliated against, because I already have faced that a week ago. And I also work for this. I work across the street now. So, but just based off of me, I was not an attorney. I just work in the office. I had a lot of suggestions. I asked a lot of questions, which they don't like. I was told to not send emails, things like that. Like, they don't want anything on paper or, a record. And I hope that if Lisa gets this position, because I am voting for her, and I hope she changes and regroups that entire office, because everyone that's there has been with Julianne as long as she's been there as well.
This is what I will say to what Elizabeth just said. Well, for Rocky to say that a defense attorney, who also, I believe she was a prosecutor too, does not have what it takes to start and be successful, it's foolish. It's laughable, because his own mentor, she, after practicing 10 years, I believe, or so, she, without any experience as a public defender, she challenged her former boss, or Judge Luck. I don't know if she worked for him, but she won, and she had no experience, and she's gone on to do good things for the office. So to say that Lisa did work in that very office, by the way, I think Lisa would be fine. She would be fine.
I believe so too.
Fine. She would be great. She will do great things, and I think everybody in that office will be happier. And I think the criminal defendants that have been accused of these crimes will be happier. I mean, this office can only get better.
And you know what? Look, I did when I was preparing for Andrew Warren's broadcast. I keep repeating. I saw the Tampa Bay Tiger thing to prep. Lisa McLean said something about the indigency applications. I'm gonna see, since Rocky declined to come on, because I wanted to be fair. We want to be fair here. This platform, we want to be fair. We extended an invite. If he caught the show, he may have, who knows, but he got an invite. Since he has declined, then their space has been made available for Lisa to come back on before. And I'm gonna
please bring her back on,
and we can talk about I want to talk about the indigency applications.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't be able to come on until the 3rd, because I've got 2 things I'm supposed to go to. The one at the Hank's Barbecue, and then there's a Plant City Dems and Dogs function on the 27th that conflicts with this time from 11 to 1 in Snowden Park, number 3, Plant City.
Okay, so listen, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later, but I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to Lisa to see if she wants to come back on. Thanks, Tasha, for calling. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Yep.
You as.
Okay, so we're done. I hope. I have to get off. I gotta get off because we have Nick Fiorentino. He's running for judge in
now.
Pinellas.
You got. I thought that was.
We're doing another. You see, I got the circus.
You don't have to. You don't have to co-host. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. But we're doing another. I gotta take advantage and get everybody on the same Saturday. Right? And then August is right around the corner. So
August is right around the corner.
Okay, well, you want to say anything else before we take a quick break? I'm going to come back on at 3:00 with Nick Fiorentino, who's running for judge in Pinellas County.
Okay, I'm going to dip on that one.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure.
Have a good weekend.